Hey guys, my name is Girish, Bali, the host for Back to Basics for another Back to Basics for another week. I hope you're enjoying all the episodes that we've done so far and so excited that the season is almost over. But we're still having so much fun, and I'm having so much fun, and I hope you are too by listening and watching at the same time. So, today's episode, we are going to be talking about, I guess, mindset, and we're talking about life coaching, and we're going to talk about the differences of the transition between what he has done before and what he's doing now, and how different is it. So we're going to talk about that. So, Jeff, how are you? And thanks for coming on Back to Basics here.
I am very well, Girish. Thank you so much. And again, my honor to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. Honor is all mine. Thank you. So, before we get into the basics of life coaching and all the fun stuff that we're going to talk about today, what does back to basic mean to you?
Wow, I have been thinking about that. I've come up with in my own head, kind of on two levels. One is, I guess, would revolve around the term and concept of simplicity, um, decluttering our lives. That's of course a really huge Buddhist concept, but it's in Christianity too, and I think in pretty much all major religions. Just trying to get back to who we are on a real basic level, a real fundamental level, which takes me to the more what would you say esoteric way of looking at it, which is for me and in my practice, getting really back into the spiritual side of life, that we are tripartite beings, spirit, soul, body, and the spirit is, I think, is the most neglected aspect of our identity,
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally. And in fact, there was a teacher of mine who would, and this was just really recent, so I haven't had a chance to scope it out, but said something like 80% of us is really made of spirit, more so than the physical body, which we focus on. I think that comes out of quantum theory. Again, I have to look into that myself, but
Mm-hmm.
again, that's a huge part if that's true, and it is the most neglected part of us, I believe. So getting back to that aspect that we are spirit beings who have a soul that live in a body, and getting reconnected with that, to me, is a big leap toward getting back to the basics of fundamentally who we are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff, for answering that. And I guess I will have to research that myself too. It seems like it's a very interesting aspect. Didn't really think of it. The more and more I ask these questions to all my guests so far, it seems like there's different perspectives of back to basics and their moments and what that means to them. So thank you again for your feedback on that. I'll
Welcome.
definitely take a look at it for myself. So thank you. So Jeff, I have read somewhere that pastor to life coach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how is that different between a pastor and a life coach? I thought pastor is a life coach. So let's talk about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah. I read somewhere where any really good leader is really a good life coach,
Okay.
or a good coach anyway, whether that's life coaching or business coaching or spiritual life coaching, what have you. And yeah, I would agree with that, that there are a lot of similarities. Certainly responsibilities are different. Pastor has, well, contrary to the rumor that we only work 1 hour a week. There's a lot of responsibilities that go into pastoring a congregation, but it comes to one-on-one with a congregation, or even a group, or I should say congregation member, or even a group congregation. There's a lot of coaching that goes into that. There's a lot of counseling that goes into that. There's a lot of just being present, the ministry of presence that goes into it. Certainly, public speaking is a huge part of it, and that's a big part of what I strive to do as a coach, to get out there and to try to make the world a little bit of a better place.
Hmm.
So there are some similarities, but I think there are also some differences. I often get the sense that congregation members would be looking for the pastor to be maybe a little more directive,
Hmm.
a little more instructive to a certain degree. A coach really tries to maintain the client or the participant in the driver's seat
Mm,
of their lives,
mm,
because they're the expert in their lives. They really know, and I believe this, that deep inside they do have the answers. They know what they ought to be doing, need to be doing. It's not my place to tell them what they should do.
mm,
I'm
mm.
not there to lord it over their
Of
lives. But
course
if
not.
I can, by a series of good questions, draw that out from them, maybe give them some tools that they could seek it out from themselves, then they are far better ahead in their progress toward whatever goal they have set for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, by the way. So when I
Well,
actually read that, the first thing came in my mind is that there might be, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not really sure, but that's just my theory. Is do you think there's a little boundaries when it comes to pastor versus a life coach? Because obviously you have some boundaries between the church and the religion and everything else. Is there a difference between the two when it comes to the life?
um, yeah, I'll see if I can, if I understand you right. Boundaries as far as what I mean, personal boundaries.
No, I'm talking
Open that up a little bit.
more on the religion side of things.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah. Obviously, if you're in a church setting, and I was in a Christian church setting, obviously, the religion is a fundamental basic of what we're doing as a church pastor, trying to unpackage that for folks, trying to guide them, lead them, feed them according to that faith. As a life coach, I don't hide the fact that I'm a person of faith. And I have a certain perspective and worldview that I come from. But on the other hand, it obviously does not play the same kind of a role in the coaching itself. I would have clients who may be of a completely different faith.
Hmm.
Somebody who may profess no faith at all.
Sure.
They may even be atheistic, and that's fine. As an example, when I'm talking about, especially when you get into the realm of the spirit, I have a concept that is that's based in my own experience and training and my own belief system as a Christian. But um, yeah, I might talk about God, depending again who I'm talking with. I might
Sure.
talk about the universe, the great mind of the universe,
That's right.
or simply the divine, and leave it up to the participant to decide how to reinterpret that for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, by the way. Is there an example that you can give that there was a little boundary when it comes to a pastor situation that someone came to you and saying that whatever the situation is, has there been a bound between you personally versus the church?
Hmm, an example. Now, of course, most of the encounters that I had were people of a Christian faith. Now there were some subtleties, of course, as far as which Christian faith, because there are many
The
flavors
many flavors. We
of
will not get into that, but we're just talking basics on
right.
it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and those were easy to overcome. Nothing's coming right off the top of my head. Again, most of my engagement has been pretty solidly in the. Oh, I take that back. I had participated in a really awesome conference with Judaism.
Hmm.
As an example, the Christians engaging with Jews, and there was a lot of wonderful sharing. I mean, but we were there with that understanding
Hmm.
that there were going to be some profound differences, and we wound up learning a great deal from each other.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah, I think if you come into it with an open mind, and you're not there with an agenda to try to control,
Hmm.
you're not there with an agenda to try to, I'm going to transform this person, right now to think my way. But you're there with the intention of learning
Hmm.
something about them and from them. It goes far better.
Yeah, so thank you so much, by the way, Jeff, for that.
Mhm.
Now, regarding your life coach and you personally, I'm not talking anyone else.
Mhm.
Do you feel a lot better when you are a life coach because then it gives you a little more freedom as your thought process and you can guide people better in your way, in your rules. Not that
Mhm.
pastor did not have any freedom there either. What I'm just saying is there a difference when it comes to giving guidance as you as a life coach?
Yeah, yeah. Boy, I would agree with that. That yes, there is. You know, and there's a bit of an adventure to it as well. Again, if somebody is coming from a position of a different faith or a non-faith, learning to kind of reinterpret the language to get the same concept across, the same ideas across, that's a real challenge, and that's exciting. It's fun. It's creative, and it engages the participant in the process. And I think that's one of the things I really enjoy about life coaching is the expectations. If the expectations are laid out clearly, the participant understands that, hey, the participant is, again, they're the ones calling the shots.
That's right.
They're the ones setting the direction. They're the ones setting the agenda. Rather than coming in with these expectations, I'm going to go see the pastor, ask him questions. He's going to tell me what to do, and life will be great. Everything will be fixed.
Yeah.
There's that particular pressure is not there. That particular restriction is not there. Now, when I was serving as a pastor, I was in a pretty liberal denomination, so there weren't any particular directives on my part toward me that I had to do something in a certain way. So I did have a little bit of leeway. I did have some creativity available to me,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly with a coach, that's far greater.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff, for that. Just give me 1 second. I want to tell my audience about some few things here. So,
Mhm.
when it comes to pastor and when it comes to life coach, they might be the similar things. The only difference is that if you want to give advice, you need to ask some few questions to your superiors. In the life coach, matter of fact, you are the superior. You are the person who's giving guidance to those people in a good way, obviously. So there is a difference. It's like saying that you are asking your employer that if this is the right way to do it or not, versus you being an entrepreneur, which is in this case a life coach. You ask yourself that if this is the right way or not to guide that person, whatever that is. So I hope, Jeff, is that correct of what I've actually said? I mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, that would essentially be so. Although I have to admit, as I've grown in life coaching, it's been a fairly short time compared to the time I spent in
Sure,
pastoring churches.
sure.
I keep thinking, boy, if I knew then what I know now, and how I would have handled matters differently as a coach. Asking those powerful questions, allowing myself to be more intuitive and creative. There are great tools that I think pastors would do well to learn from coaches
Hmm.
to utilize in their ministries.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff, for that.
Mhm.
It seems like you've done so much in your pastor life and your life coach. What else is there for Jeff for the next five
Hmm.
more years?
In the next 5 years, yeah, certainly growing my business is pretty young. I love to brag that I developed New Horizons Life and Leadership Development in the midst of a pandemic. It was in June of 2020 that I registered it and started on my way. And right now, I'm just in the process of growing that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff, for
Mm.
that. Do you have any last words or anything like that before you leave Back to Basics and with your knowledge of being a pastor and now you're a life coach, do you have any last words?
ah, I often wonder what it'd be like to be asked that question in a far different setting, of course. Yeah, yeah. Just again, if there's the tagline for New Horizons is "You are made for more," and I think that boy, if the world needs to be hearing something, that's it. That um, we were created to go beyond the ordinary and not settle for the life that most of us, I think, again, I don't have the chapter and verse to point to, but I think that most of us live by. We get up, we do the same old stuff, and put in our day, and at the end of the day, you know, settle in for the night and start it all over again.
Sure.
You know, um, now there are quite a few exceptions, obviously, but even in that, you know, the we have this. I think if we really look deep inside, we do sense that restless call to significance.
Hmm.
And for me, significance isn't about honor, glory, money, fame, power,
Right.
but it has to do with making a difference in the world for the better.
That's right.
And that we're all called to do that in some way.
Hmm.
And an awareness of that call, the awareness that we can make it happen,
Hmm.
that it is possible,
Hmm.
and that I think we need to be aware of that. The world needs to hear that. Girish, we need leaders. We need leaders with that kind of a mindset. We need just everyday people with that kind of mindset. What kind of a value can I bring to the world today?
Hmm.
Because that's going to come back.
It's gonna come back.
As much as I am giving out to others, that's going to come back to me as well. And that's where my satisfaction, my fulfillment, my contentment, my peace is going to generate from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff, for your last words and the kindness of you being here on my show. So thank you again for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
So, guys, we spoke with Jeff today and we talked about the basics of, well, the basics of pastor and the basics of life coach and what are the differences. Now, his calling was that he wanted to be a life coach for many different reasons, and we will not get into that basics. But the main purpose is what makes him happy, and I think that's what makes him happy, and that's what this purpose is. Not that he was not happy before, but I think he's more happier now. I think Jeff would agree with that. So, guys, as usual, as always, there is a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and here's a quote of the day. The quote of the day is, "The great thing in the world is not so much where we stand as in what direction we are moving." And that is a quote by Back to Basics today, and I think I defined that today. You just move on and you just follow your passion. That's all there is. So, guys, as usual, as always, what do I always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and make sure you comment whatever comment that you can. Good, bad, ugly, either way, it'll make my show stronger day by day, week by week. And obviously, it will be great content, great guest, and definitely great host. So, guys, take care, God bless, and I'll see you next week.
With myopia, with nearsightedness, called nearsightedness. And so she didn't have a system on her end to manage her interaction with these parents and these children, and because traditional electronic medical records didn't do it. And as I was sitting in her office, because I didn't want to work from home, I wanted to be in her office, sure. I wanted to get out of the house.
Sure.
I would observe these problems that she and her staff were dealing with, and they were using an Excel spreadsheet to manage. And I'm like, this is not like good. You can't use Excel because it's not actionable. So I created this